I think we'll just sort of review how it went. So basically, now that we've got it for the next 3 years, I think it's going to go even better.
Yeah.
In the next few years, there were a couple of things that I was a little bit disappointed about. One of them in particular, like I think the entertainment that they had for like the main acts of the entertainment, they had Peking Duck on Thursday night, and on Saturday night they had the Veronicas. I think the Veronicas was very good. I would almost give them a 10 out of 10. They went out on the... I don't know if it was televised on television when
I think
the games
it was.
came out.
I think it was for a bit.
Oh, was it? Okay.
On it.
But basically, if you were there, it was pissing down rain on Saturday night, and they had a stand to stand on. What was it? Like a stage to stand on, and they had to pull that away because it was so wet they couldn't stand on it. I think it would have been like they could have tripped over, so they had to do it on the grass. And those two came out and sung their songs, and they were very good. And I really liked the part when I don't know their names exactly, but one of them said, "Now everyone please stand for the national anthem," and they just sung their main song that the Veronicas sing. So I would have given them a 10 out of 10. Peking Duck, I think were pretty good. The first couple of songs they sang, I didn't really hear a lot of it. I don't know if that was the audio around the ground or if it was them.
I think it was more because they had fireworks and all that. You couldn't really hear over all the...
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of the first game, I think they were just trying to work out the kinks, because if you're at the game, you would have noticed a lot. If you looked at the scoreboard, you couldn't actually see the time on the scoreboard, and you couldn't see much of the scores to begin with because the scoreboard was so low on the big screens. You couldn't see it. But they did work it out throughout the week. The one problem I had with it was, if you're at the games, you would know, they had the hype crew. And my God, you could... That needs to be gone for next year. That was a 0 out of 10 for entertainment. They had these 6 dances or whatever. And look, they may have been pretty talented, but it was just so annoying that they started yelling out, "It's the hype crew," and then they'd have 6 people standing there dancing to the songs. It's like, I would rather you sit there, play the songs over the loudspeakers while waiting for the game.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's just pre-game entertainment that they have at grounds in general is always a bit shit, but every single time they came out on the ground, the crowd basically went into a lull. They were like, ugh, they're out here again. And they were out there all day. So I get the AFL had to do something for it, but I felt like it was just a bit crappy. I thought that was pretty lackluster entertainment. But the games, I think, went off really, really well. The games at Adelaide Oval, which were the ones we went to, all of them had hype around it. The crowd was absolutely amazing. Nothing that you'd never really experience it again, or you wouldn't experience it anywhere else. Sorry, because you had different teams. Everyone was wearing their colours. There's their different teams. Even when you went to the Sunday game for the West Coast and Geelong, you saw people wearing Sydney gear. You saw people wearing Essendon gear, Port Adelaide. You would never see that happen again, and I don't think it would happen in any other state. How well it went off. What else was there? The games outside of Adelaide Oval, the 2 games at Norwood they were brilliant games. They went to the last minutes, really. The Fremantle game and GWS. The game at Adelaide Hills, it was a bit of a lackluster one because Brisbane just dominated, but the ground looked very nice. There was the one game on Saturday where it wasn't pissing down rain. But yeah, I think the entertainment that they had outside of the ground sounded like it went pretty well. We didn't really see much of it.
No, we were more interested in the actual football, but
there were a lot of stuff.
I can get the gimmicks that people would love to see.
Yeah, I think that honestly, if we had to round it all out, I think if anyone who was watching this was thinking they wanted to come to South Australia next year, now that it's South Australia, also this gather round was only planned for 5 months ago.
Yeah.
So the way that the South Australian government, how South Australia got together and made it such a spectacle in 5 months, it's just amazing what they could do in a whole year. I think they could get big acts to come for every single night at Adelaide Oval. I'm surprised they didn't. I know they only did it for the South Australian teams, but Friday night, when the Swans and Richmond played, there was a bit of a lull before the game started, and when the game did start, obviously, that brought a lot of hype towards it. But yeah, I feel like they could have done some acts on those 2 nights as well, so they could obviously get some really good Australian acts for those sort of rounds.
Yeah.
And yeah, if anyone is thinking of coming together around next year, and they saw it on television and thought it was a pretty good idea, but wanted to wonder, I don't know, how South Australians thought it was, I thought it was absolutely amazing. I would have given it probably a 9 out of 10. Like, considering it took so long, like, it was such a short notice. South Australia really got around it. All the crowd atmosphere was insane. Like, every single game. The Crows game, that was just a huge atmosphere to start off, gather around. And the final game, St Kilda and Collingwood. Collingwood always gets a big crowd no matter where they are, and it was just a great atmosphere for every single game. So, I would have given it probably a 9 out of 10. Some of the entertainment stuff I wasn't too impressed by. The hype crew, that was just terrible. That's just, I don't know if that's just pre-game stuff in every ground. Like, I've been to a few games, we've been to a few games in Victoria, and it's always a bit meh. At Adelaide Oval, sometimes the pre-game entertainment's a bit freaking terrible. So, yeah, that was a bit trash, but the hype crew especially. But the big acts of Peking Duck, I thought they were pretty good, and the Veronicas, I think, were absolutely, like, they were insane, really. Considering they went out there in the pissing down rain, sat there and sang their songs, or I don't know, well, sang their songs and did a brilliant job, and the whole crowd was standing there, like, singing on with the songs in pissing down rain. I mean, I don't think you get that many in many other places.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I'd give it about a 9 out of 10 as well. Like, you got to think, like, we had people around us that were Carlton supporters from Perth. You had people from everywhere come to the one state. It was nailed pretty well. Like,
yeah, I mean,
the entertainment was a bit. You can say people may have liked the hype crews and stuff. It was more. Yeah, that was more for the...
Yeah, I don't even know who would like it, to be honest. I think you're being a bit generous. I think they were fucking dreadful. But anyway, yeah. So, overall, I'd probably give it like a 9 out of 10. And I think next year it's just going to get better and better.
Yeah.
I think if you are planning to come over, I'd say definitely get on it. Get on the ticket straight away. Because I think this year it took a bit of time to sell out the tickets. Now that we've seen a whole year of how well South Australia can do with it, I think it's going to sell out pretty quickly. And honestly, I think I know it's something you won't see, like, happen. Like, you'll never see a bunch of people who not only, like, were, supporting different teams, but they were all so happy to be there. I didn't see any sort of, like, fighting or any sort of stuff. I know some people, South Australia has a reputation for having, like, feral crowds. I didn't get that one bit. I thought from the Port game to the Richmond game to Collingwood, everyone was there celebrating for their team, and they were just happy to be there, happy to sit there and watch footy and be there for every single game. And plus, it was so like inexpensive. It was like $70 to get 6 games worth of tickets at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah.
So if you got the money to get flights over to South Australia, I'd say 100% do it. I think next year is going to be bigger and better, and South Australia does also have the reputation as like a pretty boring state, but I think we we knocked it out of the park this weekend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if anyone's willing to come to South Australia, I'd say 100% go. It was a great day, it was a great weekend, and I think it's just going to get bigger and better. So, yeah, I'd say 100% get on it, guys.